we begin with a breathtaking place nestled between Baton Rouge and New Orleans in the heart of plantation country. Houmas House manages to be ageless and timeless, but something new is always in bloom. It's called the crown jewel of River Road, and with good reason. Houmas House has transitioned from the land of Houmas Indians in the mid-1700s to one of Louisiana's finest plantations. The mansion was built in 1828. It's commonly referred to as the Sugar Palace because sugar cane was grown here, and that amassed enormous wealth for its owners back then. Now, owner Kevin Kelly owns it. Gone are the sugar mills and the cane fields. Kevin bought it 12 years ago after restoring his New Orleans home, and people asked to rent it for parties.
And it gave me the idea that there was a business if you can take a historic house, restore it properly, meant to entertain it, that there would be a business there.
His search for the perfect property took a while. Then Houmas House went up for sale. It was in disrepair, without furniture though, and overgrown.
These gardens were, the hedges that were around here were like 7 foot tall, and they're never supposed to be more than about 2 foot tall. So I was kind of disappointed in the condition I had seen it. And so it was the challenge for me to make it the way I thought these houses should be, because many times they're sort of dead museums that don't come to life, and I wanted this one to be lively. Therefore, I live here, and I just wanted to be an exciting place to go and not like you were going into a church or a museum.
Kevin spent millions to restore the mansion and its lush gardens to its opulent days when John Burnside lived here. There are striking similarities between then, now, and those two owners. Burnside and Kevin are both Irish. They're both bachelors. They're both successful businessmen in many different ventures, and they both throw amazing lavish parties. Listen to what Burnside did at a party here.
To show how wealthy he was, or just to show how unique he was, he took 24-karat gold dust and threw it on the spider webs on the property to show that he was so wealthy, his spiders spun gold as opposed to silk.
His gold was white gold, sugar. He built 4 sugar mills at Houmas House and had more than 300,000 acres of land to grow sugar cane. Soon, Burnside was the largest sugar producer in the country. People like Sir William Russell, emissary to the Queen, were guests here and could hardly believe it.
He went on the widow's walk on the roof of the house and just looked around, and he said nowhere else in the world could someone see their entire wealth, their accumulation of lands and gardens. But from the rooftop at the day, which is at a height of 55 foot, you could see all the sugarcane fields, and he had 400,000 sugarcane fields at the time, so he could see his entire empire from the widow's walk. And William Russell was quite impressed with that. He said the Queen didn't have that ability to be able to see her entire empire.
125 years later, you can't see that far because the trees and the levee are much bigger, but the view is still spectacular. Kevin hasn't hosted the Queen here, well, not yet anyway, but when he restored and reopened Houmas House, his first party was for 1,800 guests, along with Good Morning America, The Today Show, and a host of other media. It even included a wedding that had tongues wagging.
I wanted to show that you could have weddings here, so it was, instead of having a phony couple get married, I decided to let my dogs get married, and it was a very successful marriage. They had 5 children, and one of the children's still with us, and the bride is still with us.
Kevin certainly returned Houmas House to its days of grandeur. Today, guests daily arrive from dozens of foreign countries. In our tour group, which was just one of nearly 20 tours that day, there were people from Ireland, England, Alberta, Canada, and Quebec. Yet despite all this success, Kevin is surprisingly very much an ordinary guy. You'll often find him driving the golf cart with his beloved dogs, his mom, or chauffeuring guests around. You might even see him in his favorite spot here, the lily pads.
I love to take care of the water lilies, so I will get in my bathing suit and I'll be in the pond clipping the lily pad.
This is a hands-on operation and a place where you can actually put your hands on things. Even the vast and valuable antiques, art, and artifacts he continues to collect.
When you come to Houmas House, there are no ropes, there's no lucite panels, you get to walk into rooms, you can touch and you feel. I like that very much. I hate when you go into a place and there's a rope and you poke your head in like you're a little cuckoo and look at the items that are there, and that's just not my thing. If you can't be totally open and really enjoy the house and feel the house by being in the rooms, I don't think there's a point in going there. Now, Houmas House is one of the only houses that is open like this.
You can even touch this marble statue Kevin was able to find that helps weave the story of Walt Disney's visit here and the big toy he left with.
On the property, back in a period of time, they put little small gauge railroad tracks all around. So they put the sugar cane on the railroad tracks, and these little tractors would carry the cars with it to move the sugar cane to the river where it would load on boats. So they were making little ones like this. Why the sculptor made this little boy with the sugar cane train, I don't know. However, the connection I like to make of it is the sugarcane train engine that was at Houmas House is the one at Disneyland today in California. Walt Disney came here, I believe they told me the year was 1955 because that was the year I was born, and he bought the train, restored it, and that's what takes you around Disneyland today. And they talk about it came from a Louisiana plantation, and it was a sugarcane steam engine. So when we saw this, it was like, well, he's got to go here.
Oh,
so
yes.
we like to give the story about the connection to Houmas House and Disneyland.
Refurnishing a place like Houmas House would be intimidating for most. Not Kevin.
Everything is a fun treasure hunt. When you have a 200-year-old home, there's always something new that you find and new that you need, but it kind of fits my personality perfectly. I love to shop. I love antiques and architecture. So it just fits in with me. It all just comes very naturally.
And while most of these things are old, Kevin always has new ideas and projects. Until just 2 years ago, you couldn't spend the night. So Kevin built the inn at Houmas House. It sleeps 70.
They're meant to be very luxurious, that you can just lay around and live life in the South the way it was meant to be, is what I like to say. It's great having people spend the night now because they get to feel the whole effect of what we've created here, nighttime, daytime, with the restaurants and things like that. And it's nice when somebody stays 2 or 3 days, you get to have a new friend. Most historic houses hope to get you one time, and you've done it, and that's it. And I want people to spend 2 or 3 days. So it's a totally different approach than what others have. So we need to be up to date on everything we're doing. We need to give very high quality services. We need to have great food. Most people say our bar is one of the most unusual, exotic bars in the country. I forget how many different scotches we have, but we have some scotches that are over 100 years old, but the Macallums, the full lineup of the Macallum scotches, and same thing with the Pappy Van Winkle bourbons. But we try to have the most unique, wonderful things here so that people continue to come.
Many come to dine. There are now 3 restaurants. Chef Jeremy Langlois is in charge of all of them. In his organic gardens, he grows a lot of what you'll eat.
Well, we're just in the herb garden. We just went and picked some of the fresh herbs that we'll use tonight for service. I happened to grab, we had some beautiful celery tops. This right here is actually Fennel Pollen. So right now the fennel bulb itself hasn't fully grown, but you get this beautiful green and these little flowers that have a really intense fennel anise kind of taste. And then I actually love these. These are the blossoms off of garlic chives. This is a chef's dream right here, to be able to get out and actually plant and plan your menu around what you're able to grow. You know, it's really something that, you know, chefs dream about.
And then to have a Craig who can maintain it for you, or help maintain it.
He helps maintain it.
The lavish gardens grow under the direction of Craig Black. He's been here 40 years.
It's a slice of paradise. I mean, I wake up in paradise every morning and get to decide how it's going to look today.
The day Kevin bought Houmas House, life for Craig changed dramatically. He no longer had to do everything himself.
I learned prior to that, how to build anything out of bubble gum and string, and all of a sudden I had a crew and, you know, resources, which is, you know, a delight. And that's not saying that what was here before was a very colonial garden, and it gave me the opportunity to work on the house as well. I put all the stucco on this house myself. There's nothing on this property I haven't touched at one time or another. So really, it was a learning curve that I was going through, and when Kevin got here, I was ready to go.
Other ideas are growing. Kevin is putting in an amphitheater and a steamboat museum. In fact, steamboats now drop their gangplank here and bring hundreds of visitors.
And it's exciting because you hear the whistles. And it's just an unusual excitement. I don't know how to say it. It's great getting the extra 150 people from all around the world who are visiting. but it's more the excitement that they bring. And when the boat leaves, they're playing their calliope or tooting their horns, and it's just fun.
Kevin is bringing something else back from long ago, the story of slavery. It's a raw topic.
North, I'm a free man, and you have no right whatsoever to detain me.
When 12 Years a Slave won the Oscar for Best Picture last year, it catapulted a national conversation on the history of slavery. Visitors to Louisiana's famous plantations especially wanted more of that history. It's a conversation that's slowly evolving. The recently reopened Whitney Plantation is now a slavery museum. Other Louisiana plantations are incorporating their own slavery history too. Houmas House is planning a new permanent slave exhibit.
It's going to be a little different than what most people do with their slave exhibits. It's not going to be about the horrors of slavery, which there were many. This is going to be more about the freedom of slavery. So it's going to be the story of how the slaves were freed and the joyousness of being freed from slavery.
He's not whitewashing history. Here, Kelly says, the story is different. When Irish immigrant John Burnside bought Houmas House, he freed his slaves a full year before the Emancipation Proclamation. He was a man ahead of his time.
Each slave family was given a parcel of land, and their slave cottage house was moved there. And today, basically, remnants of it are in a little town of Hillaryville.
The new exhibit will have a statue being made of a slave child riding on the back of an eagle in flight. But that's just the beginning.
There'll be an eternal flame, there'll be waterfalls and fountains around it, and it'll be a garden where one can meditate. This needs to be a garden where people are joyous and happy about the freedom from slavery.
The most famous known descendant of slaves here at Houmas House is news anchor Bryant Gumbel. These lush gardens will soon honor the freedom that has carried so many so far. Kevin wants to honor all who created Houmas House, including the first owners, the Houma Indians. He searches the world to find pieces that will help tell that story. And just a few months ago, while antique shopping with a friend in Houston, he discovered his best find yet.
And I'm walking in the room and I'm looking at different things, and he goes, "Oh my God, Kevin. Oh my God." I said, "What am I oh my God about?" And he goes, "Take a look to your left." And I take a look to my left, and there she is. Houmas Indian, made by a Portuguese porcelain maker. The name is over here, and it's in Portuguese. Cerâmica de Vasals. She was made in 1795. She's the Houmas Indian. It was the find of my life. So this is my most, I'm gonna say this is my most, might not be the most important piece in the collection, but it's my best find. I'll give you a little story. So I go in there, and I'm gaga. I'm like, God, I know I gotta have this thing. There's no way I can get by without buying it. And I'm afraid of what he wants to charge me. He says, "I understand you're interested in this." I said, "Well, maybe." "What do you know about it?" He says, "I don't know anything about it, but I bet you know something about it." I said, "No, I don't know anything about it." I said, "It's just something that attracts me about it." He goes, "Yeah, okay. Do you want to buy it?" I said, "Well, yeah, but how much is it?" He says, "Well, I've been asking $32,000 for it for a long time, and I haven't had anybody that wants it." He says, "What else do you want here?" So I showed him about 4 or 5 items. He says, "Okay, I'll give you 50% off if you buy all these items." And the other items weren't very much. And he says, "That's a steal." And I said, "Oh, let me think about it." He says, "You better say now or else I'm not going to give you another chance." I said, "Okay, I'll take it." He says, "Now tell me what it is." So he wrote the act of sale out. I wrote him a check. It was a completed deal. And then I told him what it was. He said, "How much would you have paid for this?" I said, "I don't know, but I don't think I've ever wanted anything as much as this." It was that important to be able to tell the whole story of it and all.
The story of Houmas House is always evolving. One day, Kevin may start making rum here, build a conservatory. His ideas are as endless as his passion.
Yeah, I like to wave my magic wand and get it done. I borrowed Walt Disney's magic wand, and that's how we do it here.